that was the beginning of me really claiming that instrument, not just on a musician level, but a deep soul level publicly. Sometimes I think the reason people are drawn to an artist's music is the subject matter or the sound. Sometimes you hit upon something that's going on culturally, and you line up together. I think it can be just synchronicity. And then I think there are people that are there because they are drawn to the compositions themselves. They really they love music and are open to people that are experimenting. There are some people that only like what they like, and because they don't like something, they think it means it's not good. And I'm at a place where just because I don't like something doesn't mean it's not brilliant. And so I think that you get all kinds of different reasons why people will come to a show. You can't write music for the masses. I don't think that is what a wise composer does, because composers that do that invariably are popular in that day and time. It's really about pushing yourself and growing as a composer, and maybe your work doesn't get really embraced at that moment. You can't be seduced by that, or you'll compromise on the work. The songs, they take over my being. They walk in the room. They have an easier time finding me when there's not so much distraction. I'll dream that I've written this work, and I've written the whole thing. Everything. The arrangements, the chord changes, the lyrics, it's finished. And I'll wake up and I can't remember a thing. And that's the thing that drives me crazy, is because then that would mean that they exist already complete on some level. And what I'm just trying to do is be the scribe and bring these creatures to life in a form that people can hear and see. Being a composer and staying prolific, I don't know if there's a formula for it. There's a time when being in LA, I should say, for me, when being at the bottom of the food chain in the 80s was very inspirational, because you're on the outside looking in. And I don't really know if I would want to be on the inside. And I think as a composer, when you're at the bottom of the food chain, there's something quite glorious about it, because you use all of that, not being included feeling to find your own path. When you're established, it's far more dangerous being in a place where you can get in through the front door. And that's because there is a strange hypnotic rhythm that can happen when you get into a comfortable situation as a composer, you can stop observing because you know it all. And you think, you've achieved something that you were working so hard to achieve. So once I stopped being on the bottom of the food chain, I split. You can find resolution for these conflicts, but without a fad of what's happening in London, New York, or LA, that can maybe make you, as a composer, do something that you will regret in 18 months' time. So as a producer, I've tried to bring forth in this maybe 80 song or around that box set things that you couldn't get from the records that you loved because you don't have access to those vaults. And we've been able to we've remastered everything. And we've remixed a couple things, particularly two things from Choir Girl that I felt could benefit from today's technology because they were more from the electronica period of my experimentation than my acoustic period. I have to really dismiss the musician, the performer sometimes when we're making decisions because it's just too raw for her to hear that we don't have it, especially if she's reached inside and tried to get this master take, and you've got the other musicians here who've gotten their takes, say bass and drums, and the keyboard player hasn't quite gotten it yet. And right now, I guess you're talking more to the composer than anybody else because the composer doesn't go out and perform, doesn't really go to parties, doesn't find any of that very fascinating. The performer, on the other hand, is likes those endorphins that you get when you're performing. And it's a great high. And the performer, though, however, doesn't have the patience and the discipline to edit and rewrite and edit and rewrite so that the compositions need to be what they are so that then she can go play them. There was a song called 0 Point, and it's about 8 minutes. And we were recording this for the Venus. It was a dual CD release of live and then original tracks. And because we had another song that was also 8 minutes, I needed to make a choice because I was running out of time. And only because I was having such an argument about my garden with my dad, about what went into my garden, did the song about my garden end up on the Venus record. So it wasn't because we didn't think that 0 Point was worthy. It's really about the marriage of the acoustic piano world and the electronic keyboard world. It's something that I really think is one of the best things we did out of the Choir Girl Venus period for the marriage of those two polar opposite keyboard expressions. And Matt Chamberlain played on it, as well as Andy Gray, a programmer at the time. So it had that mixture of electronic drums as well as acoustic. And I think that it's held up. I just heard it for the first time a few weeks ago, and after many years, and we mixed it, and it made it.